Hi, I'm Ross in Los Angeles. Welcome to the International Art Alliance, and this is the Palimpsest project. This is where we're actually taking boards, physical boards, and making physical paintings and sending them physically around the physical world, not virtually. We just meet virtually because we're so far apart around the world. For instance, I'm in Los Angeles, and Laura, hi Laura, where are you at?
Hi, I'm the UK, and also, I'm Italian, but living actually in the UK.
And where would you
Buckingham.
what? Talking over you.
Sorry?
Where would you send your picture to?
Sorry?
And where would you send your picture to?
I don't remember. To
You'd send it to Rose, who's in.
Rose. Okay. I don't remember. It was too time ago. Okay.
And here's Rose in British Columbia. But you're in a special location today, aren't you, Rose?
Hi guys, I'm in beautiful British Columbia on Vancouver Island in Comox today.
Cool. Wow.
Nice.
Ooh.
Como?
Comox, yes, it's
Como.
really gorgeous. Yeah, and then I would send my painting to Denise.
Hi, I'm Denise. I'm in Saint Jerome, Quebec, which is about 45 minutes north of Montreal. And I would send my painting to Stephanie, who is not here today, but she would be in Toronto. And we hope she feels better soon. And then Stephanie would send it to Cheryl all the way in
in Tomorrowland in Australia.
At the end, I understood what you meant, Ross. I was thinking that you're talking about the actual painting. Sent to, I said, I don't remember what I said.
Well, we do have, I think, do we have
Also
enough?
because Denise would say me, Rosa would say me. I said,
Well, I do think we have a painting to open up. Do we have a painting to open up today, or has it arrived yet?
next
Or is that
week.
next
Next week. Yes.
I was- Well, this week we're going to discuss, right, what's frustrating and or rewarding when we make our art. I have a list.
I guess we all do, I'm sure.
yeah.
Well,
Let's start talking about frustration.
yeah, you got a
Yeah.
frustration. What's your
Yeah.
frustration, Laura?
I think the most frustrating moment is when I've got an idea, but I'm not able to translate this idea on the canvas. I think it's frustrating. Also, when I try and what I meant to, I'm in my mind, I would like to do is not coming back as imagined. So this is really, really frustrating and can take a long time to resolve because it's not something that you can say, okay, in 1 week I can try to understand. Sometimes I need to put the Canva away, wait days, weeks, maybe months, and then come back when I feel that I can try. And maybe I change the technique or change something. It's frustrating because you are looking for inside yourself to translate outside yourself something, but you don't know what is inside yourself. You have to discover while you are watching outside. So it's difficult. And on the contrary, on the other side, the most what was it in the question? The most rewarding. Yeah, is when you find when the what you are painting answer to you that you find it. So I think it's so exciting when it's something that it makes me so happy. Also, if it's not for a long time, because when you finish, you're happy for that moment, but then your mind is focused in something else, the next thing that you want to do. But the most rewarding is when the actual painting, it's what sometimes it's not what you have in your mind, but it's something that give you emotion. So this is the most rewarding.
Words are hard.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a lot of really, Laura, that was an outline practically of another book or something. That was amazing.
No, but I think that it's something that all artists can feel related to, because it's something we work on, not something tangible, and we have to do something tangible from our emotion. Is not like building a build, because you have something to follow. It's something totally new, and so it's difficult. But
yes, I agree. I actually had that kind of realization just 2 days ago, where I realized I actually make something out of nothing.
yeah.
We actually create something from a thought.
Yeah.
And that's truly a powerful kind of role to have, to play, actually, because sometimes it's easy to feel marginalized as an artist, or, like the weird one in the room or whatever. But, like, I'm a nerd too. So I know how that feels. But I just kind of had that realization the other day. I thought, everybody else is sleeping in, but I'm getting up early because I have an idea that I need to sketch. And I get so much satisfaction. And that's, to me, that's also, like you say, Laura, that's part of the rewarding aspect of making art, is that it was a thought and then it's a product. And then it becomes an actual something. And if we're lucky, it evokes emotion in ourselves and the viewer. And that's, personally, that's all I can hope for. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that very often the vision I have in my mind is not what actually comes out on the canvas. And then that can be the cause of frustration. But there's almost like a magical moment sometimes where you realize, wait, it's its own thing, and it's perfect as it is.
Yeah, it's sufficient as it is.
It's sufficient as it is. And I was just kind of like the channel to create something that I wasn't even able to envision. I could only envision 3/4 of it. And then in the making of it, it's almost like the last little 20% happens without having been envisioned in the first place. It's like Ross talks about, the process becomes like a part of how the piece comes together, and not just the original vision. And that's kind of like frustrating and rewarding, but also kind of magical, I think. I think it's kind of magical.
Totally, I think. What do you think, Denise?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think I would like to hear your list, because it sounded like you had a whole list of things.
Well, now that you've asked, one thing that both Laura and Rose have talked about is this thing that I've heard described, the gap. It's the gap between kind of like what you know and what you know how to do, and also like your taste level, and then what you're attempting to do. Like, just because I can see Laura's face, and I know she does these beautiful, beautiful portraits and representations of people. Like, if you're not familiar with how to draw a face, but you've got the idea of how to draw a portrait, and you care that it comes out in a certain kind of way, like a certain kind of, like, it should look like a Renaissance picture, but there's that gap, and it's the gap either of taste or in skill that can really push us around as artists. Like, oh, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to. So Rose, when you say this thing about making something out of nothing and then realizing that what has arrived is going to be, I don't want to say good enough, but I guess good enough. Like, that really is so rewarding, because we're like, we're in it,
Yeah.
It's, you're not fighting it anymore.
Yeah.
It, in a way, it's a way to resolve what that gap is.
For me, I personally have embraced that consciously, because in my process, it is a monoprint process. And in a monoprint, you usually only get, you usually don't know exactly what you're going to get. So there's different methods of monoprinting. But for instance, I used to take an aquatint plate that I had printed in the traditional aquatint technique, like Rembrandt. But then when I was cleaning it, I would pull a couple prints while the solvent was kind of doing its thing.
Wow.
And so that's what you call a monoprint, and then a cognate of your monoprint. And you always end up with something different, and you're not sure what you're going to get when you start. And in printmaking, it's called a happy accident. I don't know what everybody else calls it, but in my training in the printmaking studio, we had a term because it was so common, because someone would use the wrong acid, like intersperse their acids when they were etching something, or God only knows. And something completely unexpected would happen. And our instructor would say, well, I hope that you did what I told you to do. And you wrote down every single step you did, so that you've got this fabulous effect by accident, but you know how to recreate it because you were writing every step down.
Wow. That's
I told you I was trained by these like old school European trained art masters. And that was one of his insights that has been so helpful. And I personally, I embrace the kind of I Ching component of the art making process. And I don't know if everyone knows what I Ching is, but it's a Chinese system of different coins that you pull one out and it has a symbolic meaning. Or other people do it with the Bible, where they just they have a problem and they just open it and put their finger in and read whatever passage they found and take that as a kind of a random advice or guidance. Like, I use the Norwegian runes. I use the Norse runes myself as a kind of a random little advice. Some people have angel cards. There's all these different techniques of kind of tapping into the unknown. So I embrace it. And that's part of the big gap, right? Because when you're a young artist, you want to control everything. Everything. But as I feel, as I matured, I personally, that's my huge reward, is that unknown thing happens and then I go from there. Rewarding.
You're actually including the unknown as part of your process, like very deliberately.
Very deliberately.
Wow.
Even with the chemistry and the alchemy of using leaves, it may be the same leaf, same tree, different season, different time of year, and it's going to be different.
Oh, I love it.
Very cool.
I know. It's a huge source of enjoyment for me personally.
So, Lara, is there anything specific to your art making process outside of the things you just talked about that are really frustrating or really rewarding to you, like Rose described for her process?
Rewarding is when I'm using paint. It's rewarding just to mix the paint, to use or to see. It depends on the technique. Usually I love to use acrylic or oleo and watercolor or pencil. But yeah, using no matter of the result. result can be frustrating, but using them give it's like a kind of meditation sometimes, because you are lost in your world of making colors, mixing, and frustrating when I don't find something that I know that I have. And I don't know where. So
Oh, that is so common, Lara.
I know exactly what you mean. I've been looking for this one palette knife for like 4 days and I still haven't found it.
yeah, yeah. Because
It bugs the hell out
what
of
you
me.
have, but it depends where.
Yep. So how about you, Russ? Do you have specific things in the way you work, in the techniques that you use, and the way you create your art that are specifically frustrating or rewarding?
Yeah. Okay. So this is like hot presses. I think it's really related to something that Rose just said too. So I like lately, the last I don't know, week or two, I've been going into my flat files and pulling pictures out, things that speak to me about like a new series I'm working towards, and my thinking about every kind of picture I've made up until this point has been everything's a sketch unless it looks a certain kind of way. And you can just imagine what that way would be. It's like, I've got an idea, this ideal of it should be academic, it should be correct, it should, be like not just representational, but completely recognizable, that the landmarks of the body should be in all the right place and all this kind of stuff. And, I love figure drawing, and, the human body is beautiful to draw. And I'm looking at these pieces, and they're like, they're not cartoons, but they're just super simplified, almost graphic representations. So they're almost like a silhouette, and then within the silhouette, things happen, kind of like that. And I just kind of I just saw it really clearly, that all of this work that I've done the last 2 years, they all look like this. Like, this is really what my work looks like now. And I wasn't owning it. So at once, that's a frustrating thing to like not even really see what I'm doing. And also the rewarding thing is like, oh, now I get to see what I'm really doing. Looking over there because that's where all the work is. And it's like, oh, there's something kind of amazing that I might be able to do just knowing this, that I don't have to strive to make it into something else, and that I can use other techniques that might create a more three-dimensional representation space. But that I don't have to go there. They can be as symbolic or as the conversation in the materiality is different. It's different. So I think that's kind of what I'm that's what I'm huffing right now.
You're embracing it, right?
I'm not just embracing it, Rose, I'm smelling the fumes. It's like
Awesome.
That is awesome. Very fabulous.
So I'm also curious, because we've been working on this project for almost 2 years now. Can you believe it? And I'm sure, since we were talking about frustration and rewarding, that there are specific things, like how do we feel about doing this in terms of creating these pieces together, and what is frustrating and rewarding about that process that we are doing?
What a great
What about you, Cheryl?
I've just woke up.
Well,
We forgive you.
The most frustrating and rewarding parts of this particular project.
Of our project, working on these paintings together.
The Palimpsest project.
I suppose it's always it's a big surprise when you actually open up the box and the painting. And I suppose that's always it's always tough. Is that feeling that you're spoiling someone else's work or those expectations? That's probably the hardest. Probably the hardest part. Probably the best part is just getting together. Really, is talking about stuff. It's also really, really nice to see the process as each of the paintings sort of unravels, and to actually see where it all sort of gets to. I mean, that's always a lot of fun. But I suppose it is, it's a tough line that sometimes you feel that you're walking on it. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it's, you know, that because you're feeling that you're responsible. That's one of the nicest things about art, that I don't necessarily feel that I'm responsible to anybody, which is, you know, talks to my personality, being totally irresponsible. But when you're actually doing something with other people.
I think it's sort of ended up being that we almost feel like we're more responsible to the development of the artwork itself, as we started off trying to walk around each other's egos, but then we sort of realized that we were kind of trying to service the painting, like the needs of the paintings kind of. And even then it's like walking, like not wanting to do a disservice to the painting, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I find it frustrating when I receive, I have to say, I find more things frustrating than rewarding in this process, because I find frustrating, first of all, when you receive the painting as not knowing, as Cheryl said, you are worried to make something wrong in the work that someone else has done, and also not enough has not enough value, and it's frustrating the time. You know, for me, it's in theory we have to keep the painting 2 weeks. I think the last painting I keep here for a month. I don't know how many months. So it's I know it's frustrating, but it's happened. It happened. So I want to be honest.
Laura, what do you mean when you say it's frustrating when something doesn't have enough value? Do you mean
value? Worth. Sorry, it's because in Italian it's value is valore, and in my mind it's if I don't paint something that worth the painting,
that's worthy of the painting.
Yeah. It's that give something
quality.
The quality. Sorry for my. And it's frustrating finding when not immediately and never immediately I find out what I wanted to paint. Never, because maybe I said, okay, if I try to say I do something abstract, I'm not able. I've done abstract, because I when I was painting, I thought that it was the best adding. That's a thing to add, because sometimes I don't want to put too much. But it's frustrating because you have to balance two things: the things that the other people have made on the painting, what they wrote about it, the intention, what your mood in that moment, your what's happening in your life in that moment. I think it's more difficult that to paint your own painting, because
Yeah.
when you paint your own painting, you are doing what you want. First of all, you are using your technique that you are used to use. Sorry, I'm my dog that try to have attention. And but in this case, you have to. I tend to enter in the painting like in silence. Yeah, you know, when you enter in a room with trying not to do noise, to make any noise.
Tiptoe.
Yeah, I try to enter in the painting this way, and yeah, rewarding is when I close the box. I have to send it. This is the most rewarding because I know, oh, I finished. So I wrote everything. I've done everything. So it's different from the painting that we are doing on your own, because we can see the finish of our painting. In this case, it's frustrating also because we have to wait until the last one has finished it. So yes, I think it's a project that we started not knowing what we were going through, but I think that is teaching many things about ourselves also.
Yes.
I heard so much of what you just said there, Laura. The one thing I really picked up on what you just said is about the frustration, not really knowing what's going to be at the end, and then also, it's a surprise, right? So there's this almost like a dance between the frustration and the uncertainty and this reward of a possible surprise. It's all at the same time. It's like, well, yeah, that's a super complicated patch of stuff.
Yeah. The anticipation
Yeah.
of how it's going to resolve, because some of them have really surprised us in their resolution.
Yeah.
So now I have that anticipation of this, like, oh, this could, like, ooh.
And I find that more so with the larger ones. Like I feel that with each layer, they transform into something new. Where the other ones, the sometimes the things that we did were so small and so tiny because the panels were so small.
Or smaller interventions.
Yeah, like this time I feel like every time we reveal a layer, we see a whole new painting.
Yeah. It's on that level, it's kind of exciting, right? Like it's that, for me, that level of the unknown. I love it. We're tapping into like what Rose loves here, because it'd be a whole like dog's breakfast, but so far we haven't ended up with any dog's breakfast. So now I'm kind of like, my anticipation levels are high.
What's a dog's breakfast? What is that?
It's a mess. A dog's breakfast is a mess.
I never heard that one before.
Didn't you?
I do believe that's a
funny.
British saying.
I know it, or it's something like the dog threw up too, isn't it?
Nice.
That could be even, yeah.
I think that's what we're really trying to avoid, and I would probably include what we're trying to avoid at like whatever shape that might take as the frustration of working on whatever panels we're working on. I don't want to make too heavy-handed a remark or a callback or a rep. I don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah, walking the line.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
But it's also like an act of care. So it's not just entirely frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. It's
No, it
almost
feels
like
constrainting.
Yeah.
It's a form of
but it's
constraint.
coming from a place where we're being considerate, right? It's coming from a respectful place.
Yeah.
It's constraint, but it's a constraint imposed by respect for one another's techniques and hand, right? That each of us, what our hand is added, we're all like super respectful of what each artist has done. So the constraint is coming from kind of like a positive place in a sense, right? Like it's not imposed like, oh, there's rules we gave each other, right?
In theory, we don't have any rules, so we can do whatever we want in every layer.
Yeah. We kind of developed a rule because of the kind of people we are, that we were all feeling respectful of one another's work. So that's just, I think, like Ross says, it's like we're learning so much through this project. And really that tension between frustration and reward is what life is all about.
Oh boy, write that one.
But that's what artists do really well, don't we? We can adapt when they're in the middle of a project. We make some choices that it's going to be a painting or it's going to be a print or whatever it is. We make a choice about materials, the medium, our vision. And then there's always a time when, what Ross was saying, the gap sort of comes up. And then we have to, we adapt and we change. And when you were talking before, I was thinking about all the discoveries that happened accidentally. The little post-it things that we use, the particular glue on that wasn't good enough for something else, but it works perfectly for this. And I think there are a lot of medical discoveries also by accident. Yeah, by just heading in this way and adapting. And I suppose we all sort of run our businesses like that, don't we, in a way? We sort of run our lives a bit like that. Oh my God, there's an opportunity. Oh my God, I want to get away from that. I mean, depending on what season. But, I'm just saying we all, it's a...
navigating between frustration and reward all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we have to teach our children as parents. That's the most important thing to help teach children, is to be able to tolerate that gap between reward and frustration and disappointment and expectation. It's all bundled up in one. The more you're able to navigate that with resilience, the more resilient you are for everything that comes to you in life.
I thought that was more of a personality trait.
It's something you can teach your children. And on that note, I think we're going to have to wrap it up and open that box next week.
Yes.
So stay tuned. We have a painting in process to look at. So
I'm excited.
And I guess next week we'll also further this conversation, because Denise,
Stephanie,
and then there's Stephanie and
Cheryl.
And Cheryl only talked about a couple of things, but didn't really talk about her first.
Still asleep.
Okay, well, we're going to give her more time to wake up next time.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. It was really great.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you. I learned so much today. I really did.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye, my friends.
Bye, guys.